We are back. Al DeMarco here along with Steve Budin heading into the home stretch. 2 more games to run down. First up, Indianapolis at home against the red-hot Houston Texans. Last week here on the show, I told you the Colts would struggle when hosting the 49ers.
I was wrong. I
just wanted to give you an opportunity there. Own up to your mistakes.
That's right.
And that's exactly what happened. Indianapolis lucky to remain undefeated, barely escaping at home with an 18-14 win. Today, they host a red-hot Houston squad. Any feeling on this game today?
Well, you know, this has got to be the biggest game in Houston Texan franchise history. They're out to a 5-3 start for the first time, and their confidence is gleaming. Look, Peyton Manning coming off a poor showing last week against the 49ers. Failed to ever get it going in that one and barely got the win. Well, unlike San Fran, the Texans have no problem putting points on the board and putting them on in bunches. As good as Manning's been for the Colts, Texan quarterback Matt Schaub has actually thrown for more yards and for more touchdowns than Manning so far this season. The Colts, not very good at running the ball, and that means one thing and one thing only to me, and Peyton Manning is going to drop bombs on this defense so much they ought to show this game on CNN. And when you look at the fact that they're banged up in their secondary, the Houston Texans are not going to have a problem playing catch-up through the air. What I'm not going to do this time is fall into that same bookmaker's trap I fell into last week, because when regular players do it, it's one thing, but when an ex-bookmaker falls into a bookmaker's trap, that's like getting high on your own supply, and you just can't do it. I'm laying off the sides. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch both of these teams go up and down the field. I think this game has got over 48 written all over it.
Okay, that's an interesting thing. Right around 48. And, you know, that's interesting because the last 7 meetings have easily gone over that total of 48. And if you go back 8 meetings ago, it fell right on 48. So definitely the tendency has gone to go high in this one. And the odds makers have posted a rather low total because Indianapolis really isn't scoring at will this year, coming off a low-scoring game, and the Colts defense has played much better this year than it has in past years. So, I mean, I can probably see the over here, but I've got to be honest with you, though. I like the Colts in this game, playing at home, and for a couple of reasons, because I'm a believer in this Indianapolis defense. And, you know, Peyton Manning, he's owned the Texans during his career. 33 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, 33-5 ratio in his career against Houston. And Manning's received outstanding protection this year behind that Indianapolis offensive line. He's been sacked just 5 times, and 3 of them came against San Francisco last week. Texans only 11 sacks an entire season, so I don't see them getting to him. And true, they only had 18 points last week versus San Francisco, but you know, the Colts are 4-1 against the spread, and the next 5 games after they've been held to 18 points or less. And Texans are going to be minus their top 2 tight ends, one of which has 40 catches. They've only faced 1 top 10 defense this year. That was in week number 1 when they hosted the Jets, and we remember what Rex Ryan's defense did to them. And the Colts have won 16 in a row straight up in the regular season. So I think this price is actually a little low because of the way the Colts struggled this last week. So I think we're getting some line value, plus when you consider the way Houston has played. So I'll lay it with Houston. With Indianapolis.
Right. I tend to agree with you. I just think a couple of things are factors here. I think, number one, I think that we got to be careful of a look ahead. You know, Indianapolis has 2 big games coming up, New England and Baltimore. And this Texan team is definitely the toughest team that they've faced so far. So they better bring their A game. If they do, they're certainly going to win and cover.
Okay, so we're on the, you're going with the over, and I'm going to side with the favorite in this one.
I'm still going to root for you in the Colts, but I'm going with the over.
Oh, well, this is very reassuring. Now our final game, the suddenly slumping Giants, losers of 3 in a row, hosting the Chargers, who have won 2 straight against a pair of AFC West cupcakes, the Chiefs and the Raiders. Again here, the Giants, a very small home favorite. You know, bottom line here is the Giants just haven't played any pass defense during their 3-game skid, allowing opponents to complete 67% of their passes, 269 yards average in that stretch, giving up 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. They haven't generated much of a pass rush in that stretch. And offensively, Eli Manning is really struggling in that 3-game losing streak. He's only completed 50% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But this is the San Diego Chargers defense. This isn't the Philadelphia Eagles defense they're playing, okay? This is a San Diego defense that's allowed 72% completions. That's one of the worst figures in the NFL. 7 touchdowns versus 1 interception when they faced the likes of Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger, and Kyle Orton, meaning Against cupcakes, they can stop Jamarcus Russell. Against top-notch quarterbacks, they can't stop anybody. And I think also the Giants, who have been criticized this year for not running the ball with any type of consistency, they ought to get Brandon Jacobs involved in the ground game early here, because San Diego is 27th in the league at stopping the run, giving up 4.2 yards per carry. And, you know, in terms of technical trends, this is a team that's 3-7 in its last 10 against the NFC. So I think that you've got to lay the points at this cheap price with the Giants and look for them to rebound. I mean, Tom Coughlin's going to start feeling the heat if they lose 4 in a row.
Yeah, I don't remember when this Giants team lost 4 games in a row.
Well, I can tell you the last time they lost 3 in a row was back in 2006, so it's been a while.
So, you know, this game is as close to a loser-leave-town match as it gets in the NFL. If you lose this game, I think you pack your bags and go home. Eli Manning needs a big game here. Geez, you know, I feel like I've been saying that for the last 3 weeks here at this desk. But he really needs a big game here. The good news is this San Diego team is soft as Charmin. That secondary couldn't cover a baby with a blanket, and that's going to be great news for the Giants. Rivers should have an easy time too, but I think that ultimately, as this game wears on, the Giants' toughness and grit and anger and disappointment over the way they've played the last 3 weeks is going to get the best of this San Diego team. I think for the very last time we back Big Blue here, I think they show up and finally come and play the right game.
I agree with you 100% there. I think this is a big game for the Giants. I think they win it in a blowout. And I just think that this is a must-win, and agree with you. This is the time that you go ahead with the Giants. So we're both in agreement with the Giants, but that's about it this week. We don't agree on too much here other than the weather. I mean, I like the Bengals. You're on the Ravens. We both agree. Accordingly, we buy up or buy down the half point in that game. Miami, New England, you're on the Dolphins. I think New England's going to pummel Miami here in their second straight road game, so I'm willing to lay the points on the Patriots. Houston, Indianapolis, we have a difference of opinion here. You like...
I like Indianapolis, but I think the over's a stronger play.
Right. You like the over at 48. I'm willing to go ahead and lay the 9 with Indianapolis because I think that's a pretty cheap price for a team that's just been red hot this season.
Might be a good two-team teaser spot, too, Indianapolis and the over.
Oh, that's right. Yes, and what we mean, of course, is you take Indianapolis down to 3 using the 6 points. Then you take that total down to 42 and then play the over in that game with those 2 prolific offenses. So that'll do it for today's show. Now remember, you can get all the scores, odds, injuries, weather reports, more free picks from the nation's top handicappers, everything you need to be a winner today from us online. Make sure you catch tomorrow's show as Steve and I break down the Steelers-Broncos Monday night matchup as well.